And I think that also comes into what one of the secrets to this movie is. These movies feel so grand, right?
Yeah.
You go to all these locales, all these locations, these timelines. You know, the fate. You know, there's obviously, yeah, in the worst case scenario, the space time continuum could be destroyed. But the scale is really super small. It always
It
takes
actually
place
is really
in
small,
one
yeah.
town. In the first
They
film,
don't go out.
no, in the first film, all that could really, really is just the fear of Marty and his kids, not his kids, Marty and his siblings never existing, right? And even in the second one, the second one's probably the most with a large scale because it's like, obviously Hill Valley's a shithole, but there's a newspaper article where it's like, Nixon seeks fifth term. And it's like, you don't know, like, if Biff became like a lobbyist, kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so that scale's pretty big too, but like still, like it's just an old man and some kid, right? For the most part, running around. No one will ever know about it. After the whole adventure, their lives are just going to continue as normal, right? Both Rob Zemeckis and Bob Gale. Rob Zemeckis is the director, Bob Gale's the writer. Bob Gale, yeah, that would have been a different movie. He goes back and seduces his father instead.
His father
Calvin,
wakes him
I've
up.
never met a man like you before.
What's your name's Calvin, right? But it's just like the shaky dad.
You've got to ensure your father's heterosexuality. You've got to do it. Heteronormativity must be preserved.
For the sake of our future, Marty.
And Marty's like torn. He wants to be progressive, but he also, if he doesn't make his dad straight, he he doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Always goes back to unlikely progressive heroes.
Unlikely progressive, like Vegeta LGBT.
LGBT plus.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my favorite part of part 2. Vegeta LGBT plus, showed up. That's how they got Biff to come around. They didn't go back and burn the almanac. Vegeta just had a very open heart-to-heart with Biff, and Biff came to understand.
Yeah, Vegeta told him that, Biff, you can't rape women.
He was really in love with George McFly the whole time. And he was projecting all of that onto Lorraine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is that why he's so sexually aggressive?
Towards, like, think of all the times in the movie that Biff tries to have an excuse to touch George McFly, right? It's like textbook.
Oh, yeah.
Textbook repression. It's like pulling pigtails,
Yeah.
Yeah. Why isn't Back to the Future heralded as the paragon of progressive cinema that it is, of representation?
As a gay triumph that it really is.
Yeah, really. I mean, consider all the gay icons you've got in there. You've got Biff. George McFly. You've got Elijah Wood as a young kid, most famous for playing the guy in Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
Wait, he was in that? Elijah Wood was in Back to the Future?
Yeah, he's in the second one. It's like one of his first film roles. He's like 7. One of the kids who, when Marty goes up to play the shooting game, Elijah Wood's the kid who says,
yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, Elijah Wood's the kid who says, "You mean you have to use your hands?"
But like, there's something I find interesting with in 80 Senpai, is that they have this
80 Senpai?
Yeah.
Is that what you just said?
Just boiled 80 sci-fi. Is that they have a basically reflection of the American economic anxieties at the time.
That's true. Yeah.
Like the biggest example, or the most glaring example, is Blade Runner, right?
Yeah.
Where you have essentially the whole film is like plastered with like Sony and Atari are killing everyone. Like they own everything, and Japan is becoming this huge like economic power that's just like going over everything. And it's interesting to me that like this even creeps into Back to the Future, because there's that scene where 50 stock was like this was made in Japan, it must be, that's why it's broke, it's rubbish. And he's like, no doc, Japanese electronics are the best, or Japanese things
all the
are the
best stuff's made there.
Yeah, all the best stuff is made in Japan. So it's like,
Doc's like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, there's even the second film, right? Marty's boss in the second film is Japanese.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. They showed that. The sad and depressed Marty in the future.
Yeah, the sad and depressed man. The bad.
That's actually a great point. Yeah, like that was the thing I noticed too. Was like this, high tech futuristic 2015 was dominated by the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
You can even see this in like a film that's not sci-fi, which is Die Hard, right? Like the whole building is like this Japanese corporation.
Yeah. Well, that's the before the bubble burst, which is now it's all Chinese.
Yeah, now it's Chinese. Well, yeah, it's more to nowadays it's Chinese anxiety. But like
Chinese things.
It's interesting in the 80s that it was this weird nationalistic economic anxiety, and that crept its way into a lot of films.
Even Back to the Future,
Even Back to the Future, which is about a 17-year-old and an old man
in a
car in a DeLorean.
Speaking of the DeLorean, I like how modified it gets. Like it's almost unrecognizable.
Yes.
Before it gets destroyed. Spoilers! By the end of the
Well, it also gets kind of trashed.
Yeah, many times.
It looks kind of bad at the by the third.
By
film.
the end, by the third film, it's just like
it doesn't really look good.
Yeah, because it's like it's had the future hover conversion, which then broke, but you can still see the effects of it. 50s Doc had to do like fucking like vacuum tubes fucking version of the flux capacitor and the time circuits, and like then obviously the wheels get taken off so it can put on the railroad track. There's no fuel in it. It can't move on its own power.
Yeah, because the fuel line injection gets broken.
Yeah, and then like the actual engine gets fucking like blown out and shit, and it's just like it's barely holding together by the end.
It's so fucked by the
which
third
is
film.
Great.
Yeah,
I think that's an important thing. Like the secret to me of doing like an iconic fictional vehicles, is in universe. They have to kind of be considered a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like, people forget, right? Because Back to the Future made the DeLorean the coolest car ever, but the DeLorean was a hunk of junk.
It's a shit car, yeah.
I don't even think the DeLorean could have gotten up to 88 miles per hour.
Well, that's kind of the joke when they use the DeLorean, right? So like the DeLorean is like this shitty like 1.8 four cylinder engine that probably couldn't even get to 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, and it's
unless it was like on a drag strip.
All style over substance.
Right? It was literally a shit car that they put like suicide doors or fucking pelican wings or whatever.
Gull-wing
doors on it.
Yeah. And I think that's solely for the joke in the first movie when it looks like a spaceship.
And that's the interesting thing too, is like you never see in sci-fi the spaceship getting destroyed. I mean, it's like that quote, right? Where it's like, like 2001, right? Like Kubrick's like 2001 to his vision of the future, this like clean and pristine and like sterile environment. But like Tarkovsky's vision of the future was like a broken down bus.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of what happens to the DeLorean.
But then the best part, this dude walked up, no shoes, like a tatty fucking tank top,
brownies.
Fucking giant dreadlocks, and he winces a little bit, picks the back of his neck, pulls out something and looks at it and goes, "Oh, it's a tick," and fucking flicked it in my fucking general area, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Fuck Morgan Freeman. Get Chills to narrate the National March of the Penguins, dude.